So how does an artist maintain, global superstardom, complete a college degree, launch multiple successful businesses, and successfully fight two major court battles?
All at the same time.
All at the same time.
Right.
One for her career and the other for her, her physical and emotional safety, all within this grueling, transformative 5-year window.
That journey right there is really the definition of not just surviving, but completely dominating the modern music industry.
It really is.
It's an exceptional, almost unparalleled combination of laser-focused strategic planning, a deep understanding of her audience, and just pure unadulterated grit, forged in the most intense public crucible you can possibly imagine.
Exactly. And that is why today we are diving deep into the anatomy of an independent icon, the extraordinary life and career of Megan Javon Ruth Pete, better known, of course, as Megan Thee Stallion.
Mm-hmm.
We have a comprehensive stack of sources here, biographical articles, legal transcripts, business analyses, and they give us a really clear look at how she navigated professional tragedy, profound personal trauma, these brutal legal disputes.
And an information landscape that was just constantly ready to twist the facts against her.
Right. Only to emerge by 2024 as one of the defining and now fiercely independent figures in contemporary music.
So our mission today is really to move beyond the headlines and unpack the strategic framework that supported this entire journey. We're going to look at the complex relationship between her early Houston foundation and her eventual global brand.
We'll analyze the business moves, the intense cultural moments that created phenomena like Hot Girl Summer and WAP, and this is crucial, her deep, non-negotiable commitment to education.
Which became an anchor for her. A real anchor through her most turbulent years.
So if you're listening, you're not just going to understand what she achieved, which is, impressive enough on its own. You're going to understand how she transformed adversity into creative and business autonomy.
Which gives you the strategic knowledge behind one of the most compelling narratives in music today.
Okay, so let's unpack this. Where does that foundation even begin? You absolutely cannot talk about Megan Thee Stallion without starting in Houston, Texas. She was born in San Antonio in 1995, but Houston is where her entire identity, her musical style, and that fierce self-expression were truly forged.
And Houston is just critical context for understanding Southern hip-hop culture. When we talk about the South Park starting line, we're referencing a very specific geography and a specific history.
Right.
This is a historically Black working-class community on Houston's South Side, an area known for its rich cultural traditions, its tight-knit communities, but also, for the economic challenges that characterize a lot of urban centers.
So she was absorbing the environment, the traditions, the sounds of the city.
Absolutely. And it wasn't just the city's geography that mattered. It was the household structure and the immense influence of her mother, Holly Thomas. Exactly, Hollywood. She was an underground rapper herself, a single parent, working tirelessly, but she created this environment where artistic expression wasn't just tolerated, it was, encouraged and celebrated.
That early immersion seems so formative. Our sources say she was brought along to recording sessions from a remarkably young age.
Yeah, she wasn't just a passive observer. She was watching the creative process, absorbing the language, the flow, the culture of hip-hop firsthand before she was even a teenager.
She wrote her first rap around age 14, but this is where we find that crucial tension that really defined her whole career approach.
The condition.
The condition. Her mother insisted she prioritize education before she could pursue rap seriously.
And that's the mandate, right? It wasn't, you can't do this. It was, you must establish a foundation first.
Yeah. And our sources show that this tension between, immense artistic ambition and this practical educational responsibility is just a running theme through her entire life story. How did that shape her sound, though?
Well, that mandate for responsibility was reinforced by the power and the legacy of Houston's musical landscape. Houston produced legends.
Oh, for sure.
DJ Screw, who pioneered the chopped and screwed sound. Scarface, the lyrical genius. Pimp C, the ultimate Southern swagger artist. These were artists who emphasized bold self-expression, entrepreneurial independence.
And that distinct, slow, confident Southern sound.
Right. So Megan absorbed all of that. And she blended that Houston swagger with contemporary trap sounds and, significantly, with an increasingly unapologetic feminist lens.
And her stage name, Megan Thee Stallion, adopted as a teenager, comes directly from that culture.
It does. It's Houston slang for a tall, attractive woman who just commands attention.
It was such a clear, confident declaration. a personal branding statement reflecting her determination to stand out before she even had a record deal.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture, that education mandate, it became her critical anchor, especially after some profound personal loss.
Her father passed away during her teenage years, which was challenging enough.
But then, tragically, her mother died in March 2019, followed shortly by her grandmother. And this all happened right as Megan's career was gaining this intense global momentum.
That is just an immense level of emotional and professional devastation. Her mother wasn't just her inspiration, she was her manager, her closest confidant.
So she was navigating rising global fame while simultaneously grieving the loss of the two most fundamental maternal figures in her life.
And she held on to that personal promise to her late mother through what you could call a pretty unconventional educational path.
Yeah, she initially attended Pearland High School, then Prairie View A&M University, and HBCU studying health administration.
I find that initial goal so fascinating. She intended to open assisted living facilities. That's a practical, community-oriented, and entrepreneurial goal that goes so far beyond, typical artistic dreams.
It shows incredible foresight and pragmatism. So when her music career took off, she took time off, which is completely understandable. But here is the critical commitment. She returned to complete her degree at Texas Southern University. Right. She viewed it as a non-negotiable personal promise. It was proof that ambition and education are not mutually exclusive.
And the key detail here that really solidifies her as this icon of commitment is just the sheer logistics of it all. She graduated in December 2021 with a Bachelor of Science in Health Administration.
While being a chart-topping, Grammy-winning global star?
It's just a profound testament to dedication. She was clear. Education was important in its own right, not just a fallback plan.
By prioritizing and completing it, she challenged the stereotype that high-level artistic success requires abandoning traditional academic achievement. It was a choice that showed the world her values were deeply rooted in the practical responsibilities her mother instilled in her.
And it gave her this incredible credibility and grounding to her public persona. So she has the foundation, the drive, the talent. But how did that early dedication translate into the haughty empire we recognize today?
Our sources really highlight that it started with a true grassroots genesis.
And an instinctive, just brilliant understanding of social media savvy. Her entry point was completely decentralized, which is, I think, why it worked so quickly. Starting in 2016, she gained all this attention through posting raw freestyle videos on Instagram.
It was a very intentional bypass of the traditional, slow-moving industry gatekeepers. She didn't wait for a label executive to validate her skill or her look. She went straight to the audience.
And those videos weren't just simple clips. They immediately showcased her technical skill. I mean, her intense wordplay, the clarity of her delivery, and that undeniable charismatic flow.
She connected directly with fans, accumulating massive view counts really quickly. It demonstrated that she instinctively knew how to leverage viral content long before TikTok was the dominant force.
This grassroots success led pretty quickly to her early projects. Independent releases like the mixtape Rich Ratchet in 2016 immediately established those signature empowering themes.
Confidence, unapologetic sexual agency, financial independence.
And a celebratory focus on Black women's experiences. The voice was raw, authentic, and it just immediately connected with a hungry demographic.
The breakthrough moment, though, the one that really shifted the conversation, was the Tina Snow EP in June 2018.
Named after one of her alter egos, right? The reference to a character in the Players Club.
That's the one. And it featured Big Drink, her first significant hit. That project showed real artistic maturation, and critically, it attracted major label attention.
That attention led to the 300 Entertainment deal in early 2019. Now, at the time, this felt like the logical and, necessary step forward.
It provided the infrastructure and resources you need for global scale.
But based on our sources and her later testimony, this deal almost immediately foreshadowed the significant legal controversies that would consume years of her career.
All due to those unfavorable terms she signed as an emerging artist who just needed the platform.
And that deal was signed right before her career hit absolute warp speed. She moved from a successful regional artist to a genuine cultural architect.
And the cultural climax really arrived with Hot Girl Summer in August 2019.
Hot Girl Summer is such a fascinating case study. It totally transcended music.
Oh, completely. It wasn't just a track that peaked high on the Billboard Hot 100. It became this pervasive, defining cultural catchphrase that dominated the summer of 2019.
It was everywhere, celebrating female confidence, hedonism, fun.
And what's fascinating here is that even in the middle of that creative explosion, She immediately showed this acute business acumen by swiftly trademarking the phrase and expanding it into merchandise.
She wasn't just an artist. She was an intellectual property owner from the jump, protecting her assets.
But even as she hit this incredible peak, the bedrock of her support system was collapsing. And we have to pivot slightly and talk about the profound personal challenge she faced right at that moment. We mentioned her mother's death in March 2019.
And then her grandmother shortly after.
This is such a crucial point of context. I mean, imagine having the world's attention, achieving the very success your mother championed, only to lose your manager, your spiritual guide, and your closest familial ties almost simultaneously.
It created this incredibly complex emotional landscape where grief had to be processed privately while she was performing publicly at the absolute highest level.
She had to transform that grief into pure professional momentum, and she did it brilliantly in 2020 with the rise of Savage.
Savage was a masterclass in contemporary hit-making. It was a viral hit, amplified instantly by TikTok dances, a perfect use of that new social media ecosystem.
And then the Beyoncé remix happened, which was seismic.
It didn't just boost the track, it catapulted it to #1 on the Billboard Hot 100. It was like passing the torch between Houston legends.
And what's so impressive is that she immediately connected that massive commercial success back to her community roots. The remix was used to raise funds for Houston-based COVID-19 relief efforts.
That duality, global success funding local care, that's signature Megan.
But the truly explosive and polarizing cultural event of this era was WAP in August 2020. This collaboration with Cardi B, it debuted at #1, it broke streaming records, and it became a political flashpoint almost instantly.
Oh, I remember. The conservative commentators had an absolute meltdown over the lyrical content and the bold visuals. The song was celebrated by fans for its unapologetic stance on female desire and sexual agency, but it drew heavy criticism from across the political spectrum. It sparked a national debate about censorship.
And deeply entrenched gender double standards in hip-hop.
Precisely. Megan was placed squarely at the center of a major culture war conversation about gender, sexuality, and artistic freedom.
Yeah.
And the controversy only solidified her image as a boundary breaker.
And a lightning rod for cultural debate.
Her debut album, Good News, dropped later that year in November 2020, debuting at #2. It was a chance for her to showcase her range, and importantly, it began to weave her trauma and resilience directly into her art.
And the industry just couldn't deny the sustained success and impact. The definitive industry validation came hard in 2021 at the Grammys.
She took home Best New Artist, Best Rap Performance, and Best Rap Song for the Savage remix.
And that cemented her status as a serious, legitimate artist. It proved she was more than just a viral phenomenon. She transitioned from social media sensation to music royalty, all while battling profound personal loss and these mounting legal challenges behind the scenes.
What's so fascinating here is the speed and the sophistication with which she transitioned from being an artist, potentially subject to an exploitative contract, to becoming a sophisticated brand builder, a business owner, a certified mogul.
She definitely operates with the understanding that her personal brand is valuable intellectual property that needs strategic management. Look at the corporate partnerships. They are not accidental.
She became the first Black woman brand ambassador for Revlon in August 2020.
And that partnership meant so much more than a payday. It was a powerful statement about representation in the overwhelmingly white-dominated beauty and fashion industries. It just reflected her massive cultural influence.
And that strategic approach defined all her subsequent endorsements. Partnerships with Nike, Puma, Coach.
And that highly successful clothing line with Fashion Nova that, as you'd expect, sold out instantly.
Instantly. Her ability to translate musical influence into tangible commercial sales is exceptional. But the key business insight, the one that truly differentiates her from so many of her peers, is the Popeyes Louisiana Kitchen partnership.
Right. This was not a simple celebrity endorsement deal.
Absolutely not. This went far beyond just creating the wildly successful hottie sauce and the marketing blitz that came with it.
The deal included a franchise partnership deal. We really need to pause and explain the significance of that for you listening.
Okay, so why is a franchise partnership superior to a standard endorsement?
Well, in a standard endorsement, the celebrity is paid a flat fee or, a percentage of sales to use their image. It's transactional.
Right.
A franchise partnership, however, means she secured long-term equity. She moves from being a hired face to becoming an actual owner and investor in the Popeyes brand ecosystem.
So it provides passive income, long-term wealth generation.
And it establishes her business as permanent assets, entirely decoupled from her touring schedule or her streaming performance. It's the very definition of business mastery and planning for longevity.
And that focus on long-term value and stability is further reflected in her philanthropic work and her continued education advocacy, which, let's remember, began as that non-negotiable promise to her mother.
She first launched the Stallion Foundation and later expanded that work into the more formalized Pete and Thomas Foundation, named after her parents.
And the mission is laser-focused to provide scholarships and resources for women of color pursuing higher education, particularly in the health and wellness fields.
It's a direct echo of her own completed degree path.
Her commitment to advocacy has earned her some serious recognition beyond the music world, too. She received Planned Parenthood's prestigious Catalyst for Change Award in April 2024.
For her tireless work promoting mental health awareness and advocating for women's reproductive rights and autonomy, the issues she faced publicly clearly informed her dedication to supporting others.
And she's not content to stay solely within the music or fashion sphere. She is actively diversifying her media presence.
Yeah, she had her acting debut on Good Girls in 2021 and then that truly memorable appearance in the Marvel series She-Hulk, Attorney at Law in 2022.
Proving her crossover appeal. And she also successfully hosted Saturday Night Live.
And those future plans show a move toward production ownership. She announced an animated series in collaboration with Carl Jones, the producer of The Boondocks, scheduled for 2025.
So she's moving into ownership and production within a major animation space, ensuring she controls the narratives she features in.
And if we look at the overarching financial landscape, the diversification of these streams is precisely why she has achieved such success and stability. Industry estimates conservatively place her net worth in the range of, $10 to $30 million?
And that income is derived from multiple substantial revenue streams. Streaming royalties, which generate millions annually, massive concert fees from headlining festivals, the lucrative endorsements,
and crucially, her intellectual property licensing, like trademarking Hot Girl Summer.
It is essential to note, though, that our sources indicate her early earnings were significantly impacted by massive legal expenses.
Right, related to those ongoing contractual disputes we mentioned. The sheer ability to fund multi-year, complex legal battles demonstrates her underlying financial power, but it also underscores why achieving independence later on was so utterly vital for her to retain a larger percentage of her future earnings.
What stands out is that even during the peak of her popularity and the absolute depths of her personal struggles, she was investing in herself, completing her education, and laying the groundwork for these sophisticated business ventures.
She was always planning for a career that lasts decades, secured by equity and ownership, not just a fleeting period of viral popularity.
This segment, I think, covers the most difficult, complex, and ultimately consequential period of her career. Her journey is defined not just by making chart-topping hits, but by surviving two monumental simultaneous battles.
One for her physical safety and one for her professional autonomy.
Let's start with the personal tragedy and the intense public scrutiny surrounding the Tory Lanez incident. In July 2020, Megan was shot in both feet after an argument in Hollywood Hills.
And she later bravely identified rapper Tory Lanez as the shooter and testified to the events in court.
The aftermath of that event was, frankly, a cultural horror show. Despite overwhelming medical evidence of the gunshot wounds, she faced unbelievable public skepticism.
Intense victim blaming, cruel jokes, endless memes all across social media.
This specific incident became a devastating flashpoint that exposed and highlighted these profound systemic issues of misogynoir, that unique combination of anti-blackness and misogyny directed specifically at Black women.
And the trivialization of violence against them in public discourse. The public reaction suggested that many people were, invested in minimizing, disbelieving, or outright mocking her pain.
It speaks volumes about the historical and systemic context in which Black women's trauma is so often minimized or automatically disbelieved.
The emotional toll, which Megan spoke openly about, was immense. The difficulty of being attacked, shot, and then facing a global public that seemed determined to question her truth.
It severely impacted her mental health, her sense of public safety, and this led her, eventually, to become a strong advocate for mental health support, integrating that personal vulnerability into her platform.
And the legal system did eventually validate her account. Lanez was convicted on all counts in December 2022 and subsequently sentenced to 10 years in prison in August 2023.
So justice was served, but the experience fundamentally changed her public narrative from that of a carefree hot girl to a fierce survivor who fought for her truth.
And while she was navigating this public and criminal justice nightmare, she was simultaneously fighting a critical professional battle against her former label, 300 Entertainment.
This was a direct, all-consuming conflict over creative control, distribution rights, and fair compensation.
She filed a lawsuit in early 2020 to be released from what her suit characterized as an unconscionable recording contract.
A contract she signed as an emerging artist before she had global recognition, and likely without, adequate, high-level legal representation.
We have to elaborate on what unconscionable means in this context, because this is where the technical detail really enriches the deep dive.
Right. This dispute perfectly illustrates the power imbalance endemic to the music industry, especially for new talent. What specific terms was she fighting?
The central claim revolved around definitions and duration. Sources suggest the contract gave the label excessive control over the timing of releases and the definition of what constituted an album versus an EP.
Okay, so by controlling those definitions and the release schedule, the label could allegedly delay her ability to fulfill her contractual obligations.
Exactly. For example, she claimed the label was counting EPs as full albums, effectively preventing her from releasing new music, holding her career hostage during its peak momentum.
And forcing her to stay tied to unfavorable terms for longer than anticipated.
Precisely. It was a mechanism of control. She also fought for ownership and fair royalty splits, trying to gain control over her masters, the original recordings, which are the long-term assets of a career.
And that legal fight was contentious, expensive, and consumed massive time and emotional resources. It often forced her to release music under this cloud of legal uncertainty.
That battle eventually reached a resolution in 2023. And while the specific financial terms of the settlement weren't fully disclosed, the outcome resulted in her gaining her hard-fought independence.
This wasn't just a personal win for Megan. It highlighted these pervasive issues of contract fairness for all emerging artists. It provided a playbook for others fighting similar battles.
And the fight against online misinformation didn't stop with the criminal conviction. Late in 2024, she took further action, filing a federal defamation lawsuit against a blogger for a coordinated, sustained harassment campaign specifically related to the shooting incident.
And a jury actually found the blogger liable. The significance there is massive. It underscores the immense ongoing difficulties public figures face in combating organized online misinformation and harassment.
Even when they have the resources to use these costly, exhausting legal channels.
Megan has demonstrated an unwavering commitment to fighting these battles, no matter how personal or expensive, to protect her truth, her reputation, and her autonomy.
And what's truly remarkable is that the ability to fund and sustain simultaneous multi-year legal battles, one criminal as a victim, one contractual as an artist, and one defamation as a public figure, it just shows a level of professional tenacity and financial foresight that is highly unusual.
The independence she achieved was earned not by luck, but by sheer force of will, resources, and legal strategy. So she fought the wars, the personal war for safety and reputation, the professional war for creative control, and she won. What does that victory look like in practical terms?
It looks like complete creative autonomy and a dramatic professional rebirth, which has defined her entire career trajectory in 2024.
The transition to a fully independent businesswoman is the single most important strategic takeaway of her entire story. She now has control over her masters, her publishing, her creative direction.
This is a level of ownership that only the most successful heritage artists typically achieve, and she secured it in her late 20s.
We saw the results immediately with her 2024 album, Megan. It was released under her own Hot Girl Productions label. Now, this is a key nuance. That production company operates in partnership with Warner Music Group. Can we clarify that structure?
Of course. This is really the new model for artist business owners. Hot Girl Productions is her creative hub and her IP owner. She owns the masters. Warner Music Group acts as her distribution partner.
So they handle the physical manufacturing, the global logistics, the high-level coordination with streaming services.
Exactly. It's a symbiotic relationship where she maintains creative and financial control while using a major partner for necessary infrastructure. It's the optimal deal structure for a superstar.
And the creative vision reflected that independence immediately. The album was built around this powerful visual metaphor. The shedding of skin, represented by a snake, symbolizing rebirth and transformation after all that trauma.
And that transformation was commercially validated instantly and globally. The album was preceded by the single Hiss,
which became her first solo #1 hit on both the Billboard Hot 100 and the Global 200 charts.
A solo #1 achieved under her own independent label structure that sends an undeniable message to the industry.
It's a powerful proof of concept. The moment she was free, her success accelerated, proving that the constraints of the old deal were, in fact, holding her back.
She wasn't slowing down. She was speeding up and expanding her genre reach dramatically, using that freedom to experiment.
The deluxe reissue, Megan. Act 2 in October 2024 is the ultimate manifestation of that creative freedom. It featured 13 additional tracks, including some incredibly diverse, genre-defying collaborations.
The kind of collaborations a traditional label might have resisted.
We are talking about true genre crossover here. RM of BTS on Neva Play, K-pop group Twice on Strategy, and, unbelievably, a rock remix of Cobra with the metal band Spirit Box.
That Spirit Box collaboration in particular is such a conscious, strategic effort to challenge the restrictive labels that often pigeonhole successful Black artists into singular genres.
It's an intentional push for global, genreless ambition. It expands her audience base far beyond traditional hip-hop listeners and maximizes her global reach.
And she's ensuring she controls her legacy through media storytelling, too. She appeared in the documentary Megan Thee Stallion, in her words, in October 2024.
Offering an intimate, vulnerable look at her struggles and resilience, providing her own definitive account, which is so vital given the history of misinformation she faced.
And beyond the creative ventures, she is continuously diversifying her business portfolio. The late 2024 launch of Chicas Divertidas, a tequila brand, adds another serious venture to her growing, non-music-related streams of revenue.
Further insulating her wealth from the volatility of the music charts.
Her influence has also expanded significantly into the political and civic spheres. She performed at a rally for Vice President Kamala Harris in Atlanta in July 2024.
Strategically using her massive platform to encourage civic engagement and voter participation, particularly among young women of color, a highly personalized and effective form of activism.
And on a more private note, her relationship with NBA player Klay Thompson went public in 2024. This detail matters because it signals a stage of post-legal battle stability.
She's finally allowed to show a softer, more domestic side of her life, balancing the immense public persona with genuine personal connection without her private life being instantly exploited or weaponized.
Now, if we synthesize her legacy, she didn't just participate in the late 2010s and early 2020s hip-hop landscape, she defined it.
She fundamentally shifted cultural conversations about female empowerment, sexuality, and Black women's representation through sheer talent and an unwavering defense of her narrative.
Her entire journey is a distinctly contemporary success story. It's built on raw, undeniable talent, brilliant social media savvy, unparalleled business acumen, and just remarkable resilience against every single obstacle thrown her way. She earned her icon status by not just fighting, but by owning the outcome.
Proving the haughty empire is built on a foundation of granite.
If we look at the entire scope of her career, from Houston's South Park Foundation to the release of Megan under her own banner, the core idea is this: Megan Thee Stallion's ability to treat her career like a diligent student, prioritizing education, securing long-term business equity through deals like that Popeyes franchise partnership, and fighting for ironclad control over her IP, while simultaneously performing like an absolute rock star, is what secured her independence and ultimately her longevity.
You know, her biggest achievement in 2024 may not be Hiss reaching #1, as phenomenal as that was. It might be the complete professional and creative autonomy she achieved through years of grueling legal combat and strategic diversification.
That's a great point. That ability to redefine the artist-label relationship might be her most lasting contribution.
And this raises an important question for all emerging creators worldwide.
It does. Given her extensive legal battles over contracts and the high cost of fighting misinformation, what larger, more necessary message does her 2024 shift to complete independence send to emerging artists?
About the future necessity of owning your work, controlling your story, and proactively planning for equity from day one.
It shows that talent isn't enough. Ownership is the ultimate tool for freedom.
Something powerful for you to mull over as the industry continues to evolve. If this deep dive opened your eyes to the strategic power of resilience, creative control, and the complexity behind one of music's biggest names, show us some love. Please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss our next breakdown of the facts behind the headlines. Thank you for diving deep with us today.
We appreciate your time and your curiosity. Until next time.